Tilehurst End podcast.
By Reading fans, for Reading fans.
Hello and welcome to the Tilehurst End podcast extra in association with the Wokingham paper. My name is Olly Allen and I'm the assistant editor at the Tilehurst End, and I'm delighted to be joined for the second week in a row by the Wokingham paper's Tom Crocker. Tom, hi, how are you?
Morning, Ollie. Good, thank you. We're in a bit better spirits than last week.
Yeah, that we've finally got a win to talk about. Of course, that coming against Forest on Tuesday. But before that, we will go back to the Middlesbrough game last weekend. Obviously, a 2-0 defeat. Reading actually started that game quite brightly, I think. Tom, would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'd say first until they went 1-0 down. Really, it was a fast start. Everyone was getting a bit excited about how they were looking again and going forward well. And a silly error really in the box, a culmination of errors really. The cross in Ilori's header wasn't really good enough, and then Joey brought him down, and they Ledbetter tucked away the penalty, and they didn't. After that, it was they got back into it a little bit, and then as soon as the injury really to Ilori and Moore, when they collided, I just felt Reading were flat for the whole remainder of the game.
Yeah, agreed.
So we spoke to a couple of players after, and they felt they still had some chances after that, but it just seemed like they completely died after that for some reason. I'm not too sure why. It was only 1-0, but they just didn't really create much, and then obviously the second goal went in, and you never even thought they might get back into it after that. So yeah, I mean, as I say, the start was a lot brighter, and they played all right in patches. I mean, I left it feeling they played better in that game than some of the games they've actually drawn recently. So, but in the situation they were in, they just needed the win anyhow, and obviously another loss and a few boos at the end, and it was all a bit doom and gloom. But yeah, like you say, they started really well, and that was the positive to try and take forward from it, and I think they kind of did that on Tuesday.
Yeah, I wrote our report for the Tilehurst End on the website, and it certainly wasn't one of the worst performances of the season, I don't think, by any stretch of the imagination, but it was just sort of two mistakes really that led to the two goals. Obviously, the first goal being the penalty, Joey Vandenberg really, really recklessly sort of just holding out his arm and bringing down the Sombalonga, and that penalty wasn't being stopped wherever Manone went. It was an emphatic penalty from Grant Ledbetter. And then obviously the second goal, Tyler Blackett gives the winger a bit too much space on the right-hand side, and then Britt Sombalonga again has given a lot of space really to get in between Paul McShane and Chris Gunter. Do you think the defence was sort of a bit mishap? Obviously, Gunter started at left back before moving to right back. McShane was at right back. Was it a bit sort of the defence was sort of mixed around a bit too much and sort of a bit out of order?
Yeah, I don't think McShane will be back at right back anytime soon.
No.
It wasn't. It was surprised me, to be honest. I thought it would be Gunter and Ilori at the full back positions. But yeah, obviously McShane's played there in the past, but it's not his position now. I think you need him in the middle. And yeah, I don't think it's something that will happen again anytime soon. I mean, you mentioned obviously that first goal. It seems like a bit of panic in the box from Joey. He's got that in him really, and I think the initial header away wasn't the best, which put him on the back foot. But yeah, and then he obviously dragged him down, and then when Ilori went off, they had to completely reshuffle the defence really. And luckily Liam Moore came back on, or it would have been Joey and I'm trying to think now, Joey and McShane at centre back. I don't think would have been ideal for anyone. So
that doesn't inspire confidence in me, I think, for sure.
Lack of pace there, and luckily Liam Moore patched himself up, and he's got a big scar, but he came out again on Tuesday. So obviously Thiago got taken away to hospital, but I think he's getting a bit better now. So yeah, the defence, and then the second half, like you say, that goal, if you look at it again, I think Gunter sort of lets him run past him. McShane doesn't really know what's going on in the middle either, and he just gets in and heads it in. And yeah, the defence was a bit shaky. I mean, the defence has been okay this season, really, when you compare it to some of the other teams that's been going forward. That's the problem. But it felt like at the weekend it was sort of both ends, right in the final thirds at both ends, they were struggling a bit. And I guess reshuffling it after half an hour didn't really help that. And I don't think Tyler Blackett's really in favour at the moment. It's quite clear that is. And even when you don't have a left back, he's still not getting picked. So he was forced to come on, and he did all right. But like you say, couldn't stop that cross coming in, and then the defence just looked a bit shaky all afternoon, really.
One bit of positive news from that game was we saw Sam Smith get a first start, and we spoke this time last week about whether he should be given an opportunity in the first team. He was given an opportunity. His first league start for the club, he started against Millwall in the Cup, but I thought he actually did quite well. He gave the sort of side a focal point. You could see in that opening 15 minutes before the penalty that the likes of Liam Kelly, John Swift were trying to find the ball through to Sam Smith. How How did you think he did on Saturday?
Yeah, absolutely. I think he did really well. I think we spoke last week, and I sort of said that I couldn't see him starting. That's more Jaap himself sort of played it close to his chest, saying he wasn't ready to start, and then he went and picked him. So he sort of either he didn't want to tell us or he had a change of heart. I'm not too sure, but yeah, I think he did well. He, like you say, it's a focal point up front, and everyone's sort of had a vision of where they were trying to aim at, which sounds simple, but it's been the problem I think in recent weeks. And he ran around, worked hard, had a couple of sort of half chances and couldn't quite get on the end of them. But he was kind of starved of service a bit as the game wore on. I say after that injury in the first half, really. And yes, I think it was Tuesday night picked up an injury, but yeah, Saturday he worked really hard and just looked lively up front, and it was impressive from him. And we spoke to him afterwards, and he was in good spirits, and he's a nice guy, and looks like he's forced his way into Stam's plans through either just because there's the lack of options really, and he's worked hard and got his chance and kept his spot in the team. I'm sure he'll get a few more chances now because he looked pretty lively on Saturday.
Yep, so certainly on social media after the game there was a lot of praise for Sam Smith, and also on social media after the game there's a lot of comments about Jaap Stam's job still. Just a lot of questions being asked really, and Stam himself after the Middlesbrough game came out and sort of almost gave the club sort of like an ultimatum in a sense. I mean, I've not got the exact quote to hand, but it was almost as if the club can find a better manager then they should employ him. Was that sort of, do you think he was a bit shaken by the result, or is that sort of in his character?
Yeah, I think that was pretty much the quote nearly spot on really, and it's not the first time he's done it this season. He did it a few weeks ago. I'm trying to think which game it was now. It might have been after the Norwich defeat, possibly. That he came out and pretty much said exactly the same thing. And it's an interesting way of going about it. You don't tend to get managers calling board out, and it sort of implies that he's quite confident in his ability and that they're not going to find anyone better. So it also can come across. I think some fans have been not too happy with it because it sounds as if he's not that bothered if he's here or not. I don't think that's quite the case. I think it's just his way of trying to get over how difficult the job is that he's got, trying to deflect maybe a little bit away from the results on the pitch, trying to take some of the blame himself rather than, you see a lot of managers do it, rather than focusing on the team, they try and bring up a different talking point, and his comments certainly do that. But yeah, I think he's I'm not sure he's completely calling the board out on it. I think they're all still pretty much going in the same direction, and yeah, I think it's kind of in character for him, but I think he has got to be a little bit careful that he doesn't keep sort of calling out the fans or saying things like this that might rile them, because ultimately you need them on side. So obviously wins will help that, but yeah, and Tuesday night massively helped him in that respect.
Yeah, definitely. So moving on to Tuesday night, then obviously we saw, I think, as you said, Jaap would have been delighted to get first home wins at the middle of August, which is quite a barren run to go without winning at home. But 2 goals for John Swift, his first 2 of the season, and the first sort of dubious goal for the club for Sonny Aluko. So those 2 players have sort of been a little bit off the boil this season. I think Aluko obviously came with a lot of pressure with the big price tag and not really lived up to it. And Swift really hasn't really discovered his form from the start of last season. And sort of faded towards the end of the previous campaign and towards the start of this campaign. Do you think the goals for both Swift and Aluko, do you think that would have given them that'll be massive confidence boost for them, won't it?
Yeah, you certainly hope so. I think, like you say, with Swift, he sort of burst onto the scene last season, and then he's just struggled with injuries really. And the end of last season, he struggled and was sort of in and out of the team a little bit. And yeah, the start of this season was similar, and then he got hamstring injuries. And I think Tuesday night was the first time really. I think he's brilliant on Tuesday night all around. Really, just controlled the game from midfield. So a really nice finish for his first goal, and the second goal he sprinted from the halfway line pretty much to get on the end of that, and obviously the pass from Mo Barrow made it, but he had to make that run and finished it really well. And if he can get back on form, that'd be a massive boost for Reading, because I think you look around and you say him and Liam Kelly are the sort of creative midfielders, and Kelly's struggling a little bit in recent weeks for form. So you need Swift to step up, and he certainly did that on Tuesday. And yeah, like I say, Shawnee Aluko, he's been a bit in and out this season. I think he's got a few assists to his name and looked lively in patches, but he's got to start scoring a few goals, and obviously he's been given that one now, so he'll take that one as his first goal. And yeah, like I say, it'd be the whole night really was just a confidence booster for everyone, especially those 2 getting the goals. And Stam has obviously lifted a bit of pressure, and you just hope that they can carry it forward now for the next few games. Obviously, there's an international break, but at least they've got that win now. They've showed themselves maybe what they can do again. It's been a while since they won at home, and they were so good at home last year. So that's what you got to hope. It's just a big confidence booster because there were so many brilliant individual performances on the day as well.
Yeah, I wasn't at the game, but I know Box Royal Sim for our player ratings. I'm not sure anyone got below a 7. I think John Swift got an 8, and I think Sim might have even called him Zinedine Zidane. So it sounds like a very, very impressive performance. But much like at Leeds, Reading went for a much more direct approach. They only had 43% of the possession, which is their lowest ratio so far this season. I wrote a piece on the Tyler Sten this week saying almost how Stam is sort of disproving in inverted commas his own philosophy by sort of they stayed away from the possession game, and by all accounts it was probably sort of their best performance of the season. Do you think that was his decision? I mean, his comments after the game, I'll read you his quotes. He said, "The football against Middlesbrough was even better, but we didn't win. If you win, then people think you're playing better football, which is not always the case in my opinion." Do you think he was sort of a bit annoyed that they didn't stick to his possession play, but they did, of course, get the 3-1 win?
Yeah, I'm not sure if he was annoyed at the players for not sticking to it. He certainly, when he said that, he seemed like he was a little bit annoyed and aiming a bit of a jibe back at the media. He sort of, because when he said they played better against Middlesbrough, everyone raised eyebrows really, because I'm still not entirely sure that was the case. First 15 minutes maybe, yeah, but then when you look back at it, you can see what he means, because they played possession football, and I suppose to him that's what he means by better football. So I think that's where he was going with that one. And then a few other comments he made as well about how, I think he was talking about Mo Barrow actually, and how just because he made one good pass doesn't mean he has a good game sort of thing. So he's sort of trying to make people look at the game as a whole rather than just because they scored a goal they've done well. So I still can't see him changing his overall philosophy just because they've got a result now. But yeah, you have to look at it and you think that they're so dangerous with the pace they've got on the break. That
absolutely,
the pacey guys they've got in the team the other day. I mean, Bakuna broke forward for that first one brilliantly, and then Mo Barrow for the second one. And you have to wonder if that is a tactic they can start using more. I think it's probably something you'll see more away from home maybe. Because he still wants his team to keep the ball and pass it around, so I don't think you're going to be able to change that. But on the flip side, if they keep winning games like it, then maybe he will. But I think he wants them to get better at his way of playing, and ultimately they need the results. And at the moment, they'll get them anyhow. I don't think they're too worried about how they do it. But yeah, I think the fans at times just prefer pace on the break and creating things, and they certainly got that on Tuesday. But yeah, I'm not sure Stam is going to stick with it long term.
Yeah, so that result keeps Reading in 20th place, but they are now 5 points clear of the relegation zone. They have got a game in hand though, so win that against Barnsley, who are just 1 place above them. That would put them on 18 points, which would then in turn put them only 7 points behind the playoffs. I saw you tweeted in the week. Do you think is it too early to start thinking about the playoffs? But do you think this result on Tuesday can sort of provide like a catalyst to sort of really kick on now?
Yeah, you hope so. I mean, you've got to be careful not to take it, get too carried away with it. And it did get put to Jaap after the game. He's still looking up at the playoffs now, and he obviously played it down, which I suppose is fair enough. They was on such a poor run of form, and they had that win at Leeds and didn't back it up. So you can't. We all thought that might be a turning point, and it didn't prove to be one really. So yeah, I think. Also, you have to look at the next two games, Derby and Wolves, and I think they could easily go wrong in any season. So I don't think you can read maybe too much into them. Obviously, they're the two of the better teams, so you need to see how Reading perform against those teams. But after that, they got a slightly more favourable run where you'd expect them to pick up points. And if you win 2 or 3 games, like we said last week, you'll jump up the table and suddenly you will be looking up. I mean, I don't think they need to look over their shoulders or anything. It's very much a case of looking up, and it's a very tight table. So. I think I said this time last week, you can't rule out a playoff charge or anything just yet because it's so early in the season still, and even though it's been a bad start, if they can put some wins together, they'll jump up there. And yeah, you just got to hope Tuesday night will be a catalyst, like you say.
Yeah, certainly if we can stay within sort of 10 points or so of the playoff, there's always a chance sort of after the turn of the new year that we could potentially go on a good run just as we did in 2011 to 12. So in quite a good 24 hours for the football club. On Wednesday, the day after the Forest game, it was announced that Yann Kermorgant had agreed a new contract. Obviously, the Frenchman was set to retire at the end of the season. That was announced sort of back in April time. But it's been revealed now that he signed a new contract, keeping him at the club until 2019. How big a boost is this for the club? Just purely because of his just sort of his character around the place as well.
Yeah, it's a massive boost, and obviously last year he was arguably the best player Reading had. So
yeah,
he scored so many goals, and he seems to be getting better despite his age. And you look at it, we've been waiting all season for him to come back, and obviously he is back now, which we didn't mention that because he didn't score anything. But yeah, he's back in action now, which is a massive boost for everyone. And it came out of the blue, I have to say, on Wednesday. I don't think anyone was really expecting it, but that seems to be Yann's style. I mean, we were in a normal pre-match press conference back in March, and he just announced then, out of the blue, that he was going to be retiring. So
yeah,
he seems to do on his own sort of schedule, really. But yeah, it came out of the blue. But you have to wonder. It was something I was planning to ask him really when we got the chance to speak with him, if maybe being out so long injured might have made him think about what life might be like after football, and if he had a chance to reconsider. And it seems clearly he has.
Yeah, I
think he's come out and said he still wants to end in the Premier League, which obviously seems ambitious at the moment, but he clearly still believes that. And I had a look back at his quotes actually from when he announced it, and he seemed pretty adamant that it would be his last year, and that mentally he's ready to retire and go back to France and wants to start a career in investment banking, I think he said. So he's obviously put that on hold for another year, and like you say as well, he's just a massive character, and all the strikers look up to him, and all the players do really. He's the senior figure, and just so much of what Reading were good at last year came through Yann. So for him to be there another year, you have to wonder maybe when they knew, because obviously there was so much talk during the transfer window about getting a striker in, and that they needed to plan for life without Yann. But if they knew he was staying for another year, perhaps it wasn't such an urgent rush to get someone in if they knew that he would be here for another year as well. So it's just great to have him back, and for him to be another year, I think it's just good news for everyone.
Yeah, indeed. We did indeed forget to mention that he did return at the weekend. He played about 15 minutes against Middlesbrough, and then got, I think, about half an hour against Forest on Tuesday. Do you think that there is a chance that he might perhaps come into the starting lineup at the weekend, or is it still a little bit too early for him?
I think there's a chance. We asked Jaap that after the game, and he said, like you say, he played 15 and 30 and should have scored against Middlesbrough actually. But yeah, he said that he's ready now to play a bit more. So you look at it and go, if he's going to play a bit more than 30, you'd imagine that'll be starting and then coming off maybe.
Yeah.
But then you have to sort of think, would they rather keep him back and bring him on again for sort of another half an hour towards the end? When's the best chance to use him? But I think he's probably got about an hour in him now, and then obviously he's got a 2-week break. I think they won't want to push him too much before that 2-week break, so that might be in their minds maybe to keep him back for Saturday and then start him against Wolves after the break maybe. But yeah, I think he's certainly nearly there now. So he looked pretty good in both games he came on really. So yeah, I think he could start, and then you look around the guys, because I think Bodvarsson's still out, so then it's Smith or Yann really up front. So yeah, I think there's a chance he could do, but I don't think he'll play more than about an hour though.
So in terms of other injuries, we saw Thiago Olly go off with that nasty head injury against Borough, so I presume that he's out for at least a couple of weeks. And then Joey van den Berg, and Sam Smith were both forced off against Nottingham Forest, and Liam Kelly wasn't involved at all. He was pictured watching the game in the stands. Any of those three in contention to return?
Yeah, I think they're all sort of doubtful at the moment. They need sort of fitness tests and what have you. I think Thiago is actually a lot better, I think, than they thought he would be. He came back home, I think it was on Sunday or Monday, and Jaap says he hasn't completely ruled him out for this weekend actually. I think it's chances are he won't be risked, but I don't think he's too bad at all, so he should be back again. I think he had a bit of concussion, so they'll try and be careful with him, but yeah, he's better than they thought he would be. I think he's still got stitches in his head and what have you, so they'll have to be just check on that. I'm not sure they will rush him back particularly. They've still got enough defenders, I think, to cover, so they'll probably keep him back for after the break. And then Joey, another clash of heads. I think he got sort of collided with a couple of guys at the same time from a corner. It's got a bash to the head as well. I think Jaap said he had headaches at half time. They think maybe a bit of concussion as well, so he's got to be tested again before the weekend. Who else? Liam Kelly came off. He had a thigh injury. Jaap said after he played a pass at the weekend, felt his thigh go, so he needs to be tested as well. But yeah, none of them have been ruled out yet. But yeah, like I say, Bodvarssons won't be back. He's still got his calf injury, I think it is. Sam Smith, like you say, yeah, he got trod on, I think, in the 5th minute of the game on Tuesday. He was chasing back, made a tackle on the defender and got stamped on. He was hobbling around. He made it to the hour mark, but he was carrying the knock for the whole game, really. So again, they need to have a look at him, because I think he was playing injured, really. So you have to look at it in the options wise. They've got Yann or him, really. So I'm not sure either could probably play 90 minutes. They might sort of split it between them. I think George Evans got a thigh injury as well. I think he's still missing. And the others are all longer term, really. I'm just looking through it now. It's
how far is Callum Harriott away? There's sort of a whisper that he might be back, but and I saw pictures of him in training this week. Is he near, or is that sort of still a little bit unknown?
I don't think he's near yet. He hasn't played for so long, and he's been pretty much back 2 times, I think, now, back in full training,
and then
to be about to be picked, and then he does it again. And I think they're a bit of a loss to explain why it keeps happening. So I can't see him back. Definitely for this weekend, he won't be available. And but yeah, I think he, like I say, he's getting better. He's getting back into training, but it just keeps breaking down at the final stage, which is obviously a big worry for him. And then the other 2 guys, I think Quinn and Abita, are obviously longer term as well. So it's quite a lengthy injury list, really. But from Tuesday night, we probably lost a couple and maybe get one back. So it's going to be a pretty similar squad to Tuesday, and obviously they did all right there. So you have to be fairly confident they can try and put a performance in on Saturday as well.
Yeah, so looking ahead to that Derby game, then the Rams are currently 6th in the Championship table, and they've won each of their last 4 games, and including some good results. They've won away to both Leeds and Norwich, which obviously 2 very, very good sides as well. And they've not lost at all since mid-September. It does look like quite a tricky game up at Pride Park this weekend. Yeah,
I mean, Derby are always quite a decent team in this league, and like you say, they've hit form at the right time. I mean, they beat Leeds, but everyone seems to be beating the Leeds at the moment. But it's, like I say, they've 4 wins in a row, and it's going to be a difficult game, I'm sure. Going up there, like I say, they're always a good team. They've got a great manager in Gary Rowett, and they're picking up wins now, and they're at home. I think they're particularly good as well. So it's not going to be easy. And I think, like I say, they've got Derby and then Wolves, and then they're 2 of the best teams in the league. So despite the win on Tuesday, there's no guarantee that Reading are going to go there and follow up another win. But I think you just want them to go and actually put a performance in. I think they went to Sheffield United and they were poor, and they went to Leeds and they were really good. So they just need to try and get a bit of consistency on the road, and at least look like putting up a fight a bit. I think there should be a few fans going up. So yeah, it's just a case of trying to put some in and trying to come back with a bit of positivity, even if it doesn't quite go to plan.
Yeah, we do have generally quite a good record at Pride Park. I think we've only lost twice there in the last 10 meetings or something like that. But they've got a very, very potent attack, and they've got the likes of Sam Winnell. He's got 4 goals this season. I think he's on loan from Sheffield Wednesday. David Nugent still playing somehow, I'm not sure. He's got 4 goals this season, and of course ex-Reading man Mate Vidra, who's slowly rediscovering his form at Pride Park with 7 goals this season.
Yeah, he's obviously a good striker. He didn't quite work out from at Reading. He obviously did really well at Watford, and he's doing well again at Derby now. He's a bit in and out of the team, but I think he's stepped up this season by the sounds of it. And they obviously spent a lot of money, but they've still got Nugent and, like you say, Winnell. I think you say he's on loan. So they seem to have found a bit of a formula now under the new manager. And that said, they always tend to start pretty well and fade away. So we'll have to see if that happens again for them. But going into the weekend, they're in good form, and it's going to take a good Reading performance to stop them.
In terms of the odds for the game, Derby are currently 4-5, Reading are 15-4, and a draw is 14-5. Those are all from odds checkers. So the bookies quite clearly heavily fancying Derby. In terms of the prediction league, I think you got the result for Forest. You predicted a win.
Yeah.
So you got a point for that. I think Mark's told me you're currently joint top on 8 points with himself and Dan. So what are you going to go for the trip to Derby?
Yeah, well, like I say, I think it's going to be a tricky one, and I can see Derby winning it, to be honest. I'm going to go 2-1 to Derby, but like I say, I think they just have to put in a performance really. Even if they don't get the result, I don't think it'll be all doom and gloom. They've shown what they can do on Tuesday, and against the majority of teams in this league, I think they'll do quite well. But Derby at the moment, they've got a good squad and they're good at home. And yeah, I'm gonna have to go for a 2-1 Derby win.
I think I would be, unfortunately, agreeing with you. I'm not sure of the deficit of the defeat, but I think it's certainly looking to be a really, really tricky game. Tom, thank you very much for joining me. What can we expect on the Wokingham paper in the next couple of days, in the next week or so?
So it's a preview for Derby going to go up, and there's just lots of sort of local sport going on really. Plenty coming from the women's side as well. They're playing at the Mastad in a couple of weeks, so yeah, it's just a lot of stuff going on. And preview for Derby will be up this afternoon, and then, like I say, just a lot of other bits and bobs as well.
They're on quite good form, aren't they? The women.
Yeah.
4-0 win, 5-0 win.
5-0. I went to the game on Wednesday night, and they're looking pretty good at the moment. So they're hoping to get a couple of thousand in, I think, for the game at the Mastad in a couple of weeks. So that'll be a good occasion for them. And yeah, they're doing really well this season. They've built a pretty good squad now, so they're a bit of good news from that side as well.
Brilliant stuff. So as for the next time, you'll hear both of our two voices in your ears, hopefully. So next week obviously is the international break, so I'm not planning on doing a show unless something mad happens, such as Jaap Stam being sacked or something like that. So all going to plan, we should speak again in 2 weeks ahead of the Wolves game. In terms of the main show, I think Mark is planning a show next week, just sort of recapping the Derby game, but I'm not sure exactly when it's going to be. I think he's going to find out when specific people are free. So stay tuned, of course, to tilesden.com for all the content ahead of Derby and the match report and stuff like that. And of course, check out the socials as well. The twitter.com, it's at Tilesden on Twitter, facebook.com/TileHouseDen, and it's also the Tilesden on YouTube, which you will also be able to find this show on as well. So that's all wrapped up. Tom, as I said, thank you very much for joining me, and come on you R's.
Get social with the boys.
Find them on Twitter
at the Tilehurst End
and facebook.com/the Tilehurst End.